In a world where most people watch movies and then forget about them, 3 brave heroes join forces to watch them again and then talk about them. Join them in their epic journey as they go back in time, a decade and beyond, to revisit and break down films from a vast array of genres. Do these movies hold up over time? Are they classics? Find out on Retro Movie Roundtable. Starring your hosts, Bryan Frye, Chad Robinson, and Russell Guest. Coming now to headphones in your ears.
Welcome, all you lords, ladies, and knights, to the Retro Movie Roundtable. Welcome to the show where we watch movies and then talk about them. Joining me today is my good friend and co-host, Chad Robinson. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing just fine today, sir.
And back from his paternity leave, that's right, he's a daddy now, Bryan Frye from Spokane, Washington. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing well. Actually well rested as well. That's a lot of wells.
Wait, you're well rested?
I'm well rested at the moment.
So that means you've had 2 hours of sleep then?
Recently.
Okay. All right then. Yeah. I was going to say, the next thing you're going to be like, yeah, this kid thing's easy. So
It is. They lull you into a sense of self-assurance. You're like, I've got this. And then they change.
But we can't let this turn into the dad podcast. We've got to bring on somebody else. You've heard him very recently on the show from California, Andrew Neumann. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic and still baby free, unlike all of you.
Enjoy the money.
Let's break the ice here. What's the last movie you saw?
The Town.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's a 2010 movie, very in keeping with the theme. So did you enjoy it?
I did. Jeremy Renner is a fantastic actor, and
That's a good, interesting take.
he's just fun to watch in anything.
Can we quickly name 3 movies where we liked the other guy other than Ben Affleck?
Good Will Hunting.
I mean, Good Will Hunting definitely has to be on that list. That's at the top of them.
Dogma.
Well, yeah.
Chasing Amy?
I mean, everyone in Daredevil except for Colin Farrell.
Hey, let's not take shots there. I'm a fan of both Ben Affleck and Colin Farrell in Daredevil.
Oh, so, podcast listeners, be warned. You're in for some bad opinions from Andrew tonight.
Wow, Chad's coming in hot after you, Andrew.
How about Charlie Hunnam in Triple Frontier?
Yeah.
I like Josh Hartnett in Pearl Harbor better.
Ooh, yeah. Throw daggers.
I'll give you that one.
Now, what is the last movie you saw, Bryan?
Greyhound with Tom Hanks, and I've watched it like 7 times.
I'm assuming you've enjoyed it if you're on your 7th time through.
Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, the one benefit, and this was already kind of happening, so I'm not going to put this on COVID, but one benefit to being home and having multiple streaming services, I've really gotten to enjoy and appreciate and really thank most of these streaming services for having just top-notch production. Like, the stuff they're cranking out is good.
Yeah.
Until Disney Plus wants $30 for Mulan. That's ridiculous.
Take my money, man. Take my money. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to pay it for Mulan. I'm just saying that if they were like, we're going to drop 5 seasons of The Mandalorian, we'd like $100 a month. I'd be like, yep, here's $100. Thanks, Disney.
Disney, thankfully, does not listen to this podcast, so they don't get any stupid ideas like that.
They're just going to charge me.
Chad, what about you? What's your last movie you saw?
I watched 2020's Peninsula, which is the sequel to Train to Busan, 2016's Korean zombie movie.
Wow, you are hitting the horror hard this year, so how did that go?
I could see people appreciating the shift, but Train to Busan is it's the best zombie movie of the last decade, easily.
Have you watched The Kingdom yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm enjoying that right now.
This one had a shift into more Hollywood and action. It's not Train to Busan, but you could still have a good time with it.
And the last movie that I saw was Unstoppable, Pennsylvania movie.
Yeah, filmed in Pittsburgh.
Yep. Favorite headline from 2010. So what is your funny or favorite news story that you enjoyed that happened in 2010, Andrew?
The Decision. At the time, it seemed so important, and people from Cleveland were so angry at LeBron. And then after he goes to Miami and then comes back and wins him a title, people from Cleveland got a lot less hate in their heart than they said they were going to have.
Fry, what about you? What's your favorite headline from 2010?
I wouldn't say it's something I enjoyed, so it's not really a favorite, but the whole downfall of Tiger Woods was pretty engrossing. I don't think I watched it with the animosity some people did, but more of a disappointment in someone who is very entertaining to watch really lose it. That and basically anything that Kanye West did.
I haven't seen a collapse on the golf course like that since Happy Gilmore was taunted by the guy in the weeds saying, "Jackass!" Now, Chad, what about you? What's your favorite headline from 2010?
I'm going to antagonize Russell here, but Los Angeles Lakers defeat the Boston Celtics to win their 16th title.
That can't be your favorite headline. You're a Spurs fan. You have to turn your Spurs fan card in if you do that.
Hey, Chad, that was a back-to-back too, right? Lakers back-to-back. I think it was a back-to-back.
You can get joy out of your pain. He can love that joy.
That is literally one of my least favorite finals ever. We'll get to that later.
And that just makes it better. It really does.
All because we lost Kendrick Perkins.
Sure.
My favorite headline from the 2010 catalog is the KFC Double Down Sandwich. It is the purest American moment. It is the pinnacle of excess in America. It is a fried chicken slab with bacon, cheese, and another fried chicken slab, making a quote-unquote sandwich. And I don't know where the heart attacks were at the end of by late 2010, but I'm sure they were going up.
Patton Oswalt called that sandwich the Caligula of fast food.
2010 was also the year of Lady Gaga's meat dress, and that meat dress had less meat in it than the Double Down sandwich at KFC.
That's my biggest regret. I didn't get to the Double Down before it went away.
You didn't double down?
Like, I will take that to my grave.
We're going to live longer now because neither of us had it.
So the proper way to do a double down is you order it, but it needs to be, if it came out at the similar time of year, or they still had it when the McRib was out, and then you take the McRib and you put it in between the two chicken breasts. That's how you do a double down sandwich.
Fry, I get your point, but is it really living when you've missed out on this?
Thank you, Chad. Thank you.
I think you really miss out on living if you don't take the double down and then dip it in a KFC famous bowl.
Oh.
That's just being excessive. Come on.
Now, what movie from 2010 did you not see, but you wanted to, Andrew?
Repo Men.
Okay. Yeah, good choice. And Brian, what movie from 2010 did you not see, but you wish you had?
I actually have two that I was fairly disappointed in myself for not seeing, but part of me just can't bring myself to watch them because I'm not sure how much I care. It's 127 Hours and Monster.
Oh, Monster was rough.
I made conscious decisions at the time that I knew what happened in 127 hours, and I didn't really need to watch that. Plus, I was rock climbing at the time, so I was like, I don't need to put myself through that. Monster, I was like, hey, good for Charlize Theron. I don't need to watch that.
Yeah, that was a rough one.
Brian heard she wasn't pretty in that, and he said, I'm not watching that. So, Chad, what movie did you not see in 2010, but you wanted to?
I really wanted to see The Fighter. I like the cast, I like the director, and just never got around to it.
I'd try and make that happen. It's a good one. Now, Brian took mine. I was definitely going to say 127 Hours. It's the only one from the Best Picture category I didn't see. Like Brian, the guy doesn't, I don't know that I want to watch 90 minutes of a guy cutting his arm off.
This may disqualify this podcast in some people's minds given the publicity and popularity of that movie. But can we also remember that James Franco was also like heavily overdoing it at that time? Like where if you saw another James Franco movie, you might have had to shoot yourself in the face.
Counterpoint to Russell's statement about cutting arm off, Saw. 90 minutes of cutting foot off.
Yeah, but that was a really good 90 minutes of cutting a foot off.
I was going to say that was a very well written 90 minutes. Yeah.
So apologies to everybody. We didn't see a couple hallmarks here. We understand he chops his arm off. Got it.
Oh, but wait till you see the movies we have seen, and then you can be disappointed in us.
Yes. Good.
All right, so just to catch people up, if you hadn't caught the drift of some of the things we're talking about, it is 2020 when we're talking about this, but we're going back in time. We're looking at 2010. And so to put you back in 2010, this is the year of the BP oil spill where they dump over 260 gallons of crude oil into the Gulf of Mexico. That sucked. Haiti had a gigantic earthquake, which the death toll was over 230,000 people. That sucked. President Obama withdrew troops from Iraq, but left about 50,000 non-combat troops, so it wasn't totally out of there. But anyway, he pulled people out of Iraq. That was cool. The Burj Khalifa is the new world's tallest building, and it is still the world's tallest building. So that was a great thing. And the iPad debuts and immediately becomes the hottest gift of the year. So people still have Apple craze at this point. The New Orleans Saints win the Super Bowl over the Indianapolis Colts. Yeah, so there are two Colts fans in this podcast, so that stings. The Chicago Blackhawks win the Stanley Cup over the Philadelphia Flyers. Thank goodness they saved us from that bullet.
Yep.
The Los Angeles Lakers beat the Boston Celtics, and I'm still crying over when Chad brought it up before. The San Francisco Giants won the World Series over the Texas Rangers, and the 2010 Olympics was held in Vancouver, Canada. Spain wins their first World Cup, and that was held in South Africa. Celebrity deaths include Dennis Hopper, Leslie Nielsen, Gary Coleman, Tony Curtis.
Because how do you bring up the World Cup in South Africa and not bring up the vuvuzelas? Come on. Those things, do you remember how annoying, how annoying those things were?
This is the year of the vuvuzela, you're right.
Yeah, and how do you bring that up and not mention that? Or, come on.
Katy Perry dominates the charts that year. She spends a total of 10 weeks at number one with 3 number one singles, California Girls, Teenage Dream, and Firework. Kesha's also a big hit on the charts. She has 9 weeks at number one with TikTok and We Are Who We Are.
Dentists around the U.S. said, no, you cannot brush your teeth with Jack Daniels.
Eminem's Recovery is the top-selling album of the year, so Eminem is back in a big way, but also having a big year on the music scene. You've got Lady Antebellum, or now as they're known, Lady A, Taylor Swift, Rihanna, Lady Gaga, Drake, and Muse and Rise Against are all having a big year. Noah and Emma are the top baby names of 2010. Back to movies. Avatar is the number one grossing movie in the box office of 2010, but it was released in 2009, so Toy Story 3 is the highest grossing movie that was released, in air quotes, in 2010. So, with that, Chad, do you want to take us through what happened at the Academy Awards?
So for Best Picture, we had a couple nominees: King's Speech, 127 Hours, Black Swan, The Fighter, Inception, The Kids Are All Right, Why Was That There? The Social Network, Toy Story 3, True Grit, and Winter's Bone. We have covered Winter's Bone, so check that out. But The King's Speech won. It also won the Golden Globe. For Best Director, it was Tom Hooper of The King's Speech, along with Colin Firth for Best Actor. Our Best Actress went to Natalie Portman in Black Swan. Best Supporting Actor and Actress came from The Fighter with Christian Bale and Melissa Leo. Our Best Adapted Screenplay is The Social Network. I'm still kind of disappointed it didn't appear or didn't end with Mark Zuckerberg being the robot. Best Original Screenplay.
Zuckerbot.
Best Original Screenplay was The King's Speech. Our Best Animated Picture was Toy Story 3, and Inception cleans up the sound category with sound mixing and sound editing. Best Film Editing was The Social Network. Best Cinematography, again, goes to Inception. Best Art Direction, though, went to Alice in Wonderland. Visual Effects went to Inception. Best Makeup went to The Wolfman. It actually won an award. That's stunning.
Yeah. I feel like it needs to be disqualified just on the basis of being a bad movie, but go on.
Yeah. Go see the 40s version. And the third. Best Score, Toy Story 3. Randy Newman composes We Belong Together, or Best Song. And Best Score is The Social Network.
And there was a lot of overlap with the Golden Globes, but Frye, do you want to take the Golden Globes?
All right, so a couple differences we had with the Golden Globes this year was Best Director went to David Fincher as the Social Network director, which I don't know if you guys felt good or bad about Social Network, but I thought it was a highly forgettable movie outside of the soundtrack.
Hot take.
I liked it.
I like to drop one right, in the middle of something else. Best drama also went to Social Network. Best actor and actress mirrored the Oscars on this. Best musical or comedy was The Kids Are Alright. Best actor in a comedy went to Paul Giamatti. Best actress in a comedy went to Annette Bening. So both supportings go back to the Oscar wins, Oscar wins. Best original screenplay went to Aaron Sorkin for The Social Network. Another guy I really like just because I was a huge fan of The Newsroom. Best song, You Haven't Seen the Last of Me in Burlesque. Best animated went to Toy Story 3, also an Oscar winner.
Now, before we get started with these great movies, what's the worst movie from 2010 that you saw? Andrew.
Okay, so I've actually got two here. I've got the worst movie that I saw and the worst movie that I didn't see. So the worst movie that I saw is Eat, Pray, Love. And the worst movie I didn't see is called Furry Vengeance. It's Brendan Fraser.
I read about it.
It's Brendan Fraser. It is called Furry Vengeance. Go Google it. And then I'm pretty sure you'll agree with my decision to not watch it. Regarding Eat, Pray, Love, Fry, please, you want to quickly say why it's such a bad movie?
I've got so much hate in my heart for both the book and the movie. The double standard that this movie creates in my mind of the husband doing everything in his mind to try to keep the woman he loves, and the woman being like, kind of not into it anymore. I'm going to go do the world. If you made a sex swap on this, and it was the guy being like, I'm not really into this marriage anymore and piecing out, they would be crucified.
It's like Dollhouse that we had to read way back when.
This movie infuriated me. Now, it wasn't...
I'm like curious now. Like, I just want to see, like...
Well, here's the thing. All right, no, just... I don't like the premise of this. It's not a bad movie. What happens in it is... it's preoccupationally distracting for me.
What is your worst movie of 2010?
I think I'm going to go with either Avatar: The Last Airbender, because I actually went into that kind of curious and hopeful, and
this is why you can't trust Shyamalan. It's like, I'm going to wait on Devil. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll go Avatar. The other one that I saw, and I did see this on streaming service too, was Skyline. Skyline was brutally bad.
Chad, what's your worst movie of 2010?
Alice in Murderland. This was actually the movie that kind of re-jump-started my dive into horror. It was unfortunately this movie, and it was... B movie is polite. This is a D movie. The Cheshire Cat was literally a girl with a pair of cat ears on. They were at a costume party or something. It's terrible. Honorable mention to the Nightmare on Elm Street remake for completely ruining my favorite horror franchise.
This was Alice in Murderland's off of a manga book, right? So it's also a graphic novel?
I don't know. I got this one off of Amazon Prime. It was Prime Video, and just...
I think the source material is actually a Japanese comic on this one.
Oh.
So you guys are going to be proud of me on this one, because my worst movie, this is going to throw you for a curveball. I just saw it last night. I cram for this episode, so I pick up 2010 movies I didn't see in order to get ready for this. And I was set on giving my worst movie to you again. Turns out Greenberg, starring Ben Stiller, is far worse.
I figured Little Fockers would make an appearance here.
It was a rough year for Ben Stiller. I
mean
like
like
Ben
his whole
Stiller,
career?
I like Ben Stiller, and this was a hard year for him. Little Fockers, that is an example of a third movie that's running out of gas, and this one was depressing. It is a drama. There are bits of humor in it, but it doesn't go anywhere. If you ever wonder why they don't make movies about quote unquote normal dysfunctional people or normal people, it's because they're not interesting. He's mean, he's a Debbie Downer, and he has these outbursts that are unrewarding. It's it just there's no arc. It's actually well shot, and there's a great soundtrack that goes with it, but it's a half-star movie for me. I really didn't enjoy it, and you again looks great compared to this. So,
Chad, I feel like this is a pinhole into the shroud that Russell's been wearing, and then if maybe we introduce him to enough bad Ben Stiller movies, he'll really just, like, the facade will just strip away from all the other ones that he's loved, and he'll be like, oh no, he really was terrible all along.
Hey, whoa, something about Mary? Come on.
yeah, I was gonna say that you're not taking me away from Something About Mary, Zoolander, Meet the Parents. I mean,
Well, to quote G.I. Jane, I had a broken watch that was right twice a day.
all right, let's get into the top 10 movies of 2010. And this is the much anticipated moment. This is a reminder. There are not any spoilers that will lie ahead. So feel free to just keep listening to this and find out if you haven't seen these movies, be interested and check them out. So if not, feel free to write in and tell us why we're wrong and what we should have put on here. So we love that. So reach out to us on Facebook and email and all those good places. There is a qualifier that Avatar, which while it made the most money, which we mentioned earlier in this, won't be accounted in this. Avatar was a 2009 movie. We talked about it last year, so it is not included in our 2010 list. So all of these movies are released in the calendar year of 2010. So having said that, we're going to go through this starting at 10 and counting our way down. Andrew, would you want to give us the honor of starting us off at 10? And by the way, if anybody else has Andrew's movie, just say, hold on, and then we'll talk about it later, much like we've done in the past. So, Andrew, do you want to start us off? What's your number 10 movie of 2010?
Black Swan.
Hold off on
Hold
that one,
up.
sir.
All right, we're going to wait on that one. Brian, what's your top 10 movie? What's your number 10 movie of 2010?
My number 10 was Leonardo DiCaprio starred in Shutter Island.
Hold off on that one, sir.
Chad, what's your number 10 movie?
Hot Tub Time Machine.
Hold
You're
up.
gonna be- oh, yeah.
Hold up.
Yeah, hold on. My number 10 movie is Secretariat.
You picked the right horse.
Hey, you get to talk about something because none of the rest of us found it interesting enough to bring up.
And Chad nails the first dad joke of the podcast.
You know, Disney was on pace with a lot of these types of inspiring sports movies like Invincible, I believe The Express, but Secretariat to me stands out above a number of these. And it got a little bit buried because of Seabiscuit for many, but on the other hand, it's just a really feel-good movie. It's about a woman who's in danger of losing her farm, and so she basically bets it all on a horse to save the farm, and it's an inspiring story. It's a feel-good movie, so if you like movies like The Blind Side and you kind of like that historical aspect of it, check it out. It's about a true story of a Triple Crown winner.
I saw Seabiscuit. I feel like I saw Secretariat.
You did not.
Oh,
I did see it. I saw it a long time ago, and for me, it was forgettable, and, you could do better things with your time.
Wow, okay, all right. Not off to a good start with Andrew on that one, but Andrew, pick us up here, number 9 for you on 2010.
Inception.
hold off.
Hold up.
Wait on that one. Brian, what's your number 9 movie?
My number 9 was Winter's Bone.
If you want to hear a lot about this one, check out our episode on Winter's Bone just from earlier this year. But Brian, tell us about Winter's Bone now.
So Winter's Bone is one of those movies for me that I knew what I was getting into, kind of like with Monster or 127 Hours or really anything where it's going to be super depressing going in. This was an exception to the rule for me because usually I really do go away from movies like this. But I ended up watching it, given its subject matter, and for some reason this one got me. I was like, wow, that was an amazing movie. I don't mind watching it more than once. Obviously we did it for the podcast, but this is a movie that typically is against the grain for me, and I own it, and I watch it a lot, and that may mean there are others out there that I've vetoed, and I really do need to give them a shot, and this is probably the best argument to use against me to get me to do that.
I had no background on this when we did the podcast, so it was a great movie. That's a good choice.
Yep. It's a well-made movie. It's a heavy subject matter, which probably is the heaviness is what keeps it off here for me. But I'm going to go as far to say as I think this is Jennifer Lawrence's best acting performance.
That's fair.
Sure.
Chad, what's your number 9 movie?
Black Swan.
Hold up.
All right, we'll wait on that one. And my number 9 movie is The Social Network.
And the floor is yours once more.
Okay. Well, I'm the only one with The Social Network.
Honorable mention for me.
The Social Network to me is just cleverly told. I think it's a very interesting way of telling the story through the court scenes that they're in, because it's in litigation. And they look back and they tell the story of how Facebook came to be in a far more entertaining way, because Jesse Eisenberg is far more charismatic and confident and more interesting to watch than the actual real Mark Zuckerberg. So I think some of the facts might have been disputed, but I don't care. It's a well-made movie and it's interesting. And it's one of those things where, at least for us, this was an interesting time in history that was changing things. The internet was in place and had revolutionized our society, but social media was about to completely change the way we interact with each other. And it's one of those things you don't often think about enough, just to think how much this really changed the way we are and what made it happen. Who is that vision that made it that way, and the story behind that. And I think this movie's going to hold up even well past into the next generation, because it's a well-made movie about somebody who built an empire.
That started.
I feel bad poo-pooing on this movie sometimes because it wasn't a bad movie. It's not something I ever would care to watch again, but it's just kind of one of those things that I watched the whole thing and I was like, okay, thanks for that. Cool soundtrack. Done. By the way, come visit us on Facebook at Retro Movie Roundtable. No, I didn't give it a thumbs up. I honestly probably saw it more because I knew Trent Reznor and Atticus did the soundtrack, and I'll pretty much listen to any of their soundtracks, so I was like, okay, well, let's watch the movie.
I think for me, it's I don't like Mark Zuckerberg. It still manages to depict him in a decent light. I mean, there's some scummy stuff, but it's the same reason I don't watch any of the Jobs movies. Like I don't.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen any of those either. So maybe it's like a true tech story thing that I have.
Yeah, we haven't done Bill Gates yet, have we?
Yeah, I didn't see any of the.
I'm looking forward to the new one where Bill Gates is trying to get everyone microchipped and control the world.
Andrew, you ready to move on to your number 8?
I'm guessing this will be, I'll be surprised if anybody else has this, St. John of Las Vegas.
Tell us about that.
So it came out in January 29th, 2010, but I think it had come out to some film festivals before that. So I was double checking to make sure we were within the release date. But it's an interesting movie with Steve Buscemi and Romany Malco. People might know him from Weeds. And it's a movie about a couple of insurance fraud guys who have some shenanigans going on a trip out to the area surrounding Vegas. And Steve Buscemi, as normal, just is, fantastic with quirky roles. And it's just a fun little offbeat movie that's just got some really interesting parts, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's more memorable to me than I think a lot of the movies that came out this year. Where you said The Social Network, something you'd watch, but you wouldn't necessarily watch again. This is something that you'd watch, and then you might be like, oh yeah, watch this again.
So just looking at the cast right now, I'm like, how much is this movie and how do I acquire it?
Wait. I got a movie that you haven't seen yet?
No, I haven't seen this.
That's unusual. Frye's normally the guru of the bunch of us
Had
here.
anybody else seen this?
No, I haven't heard of it.
No.
For hosting a movie podcast, it's not like I see every single movie, so.
No, I listen. I love stuff like this because this is exciting. I can't wait to watch this.
I'm inhibited by getting to too many movies because I can't watch a movie without talking about it for 90 minutes now. So,
Your poor wife.
So, Frye, what's your number 8 movie?
My number 8 movie, and I'm probably going to be alone here, is called Remember Me. And I'm going to get roasted for this, but I got a cop to it.
Well, I don't Remember Me. Tell us about Remember Me.
So Remember Me was kind of a play at brownie points with a wife. Well, then girlfriend. Well, no, we were married at that point. Yeah, all right. Wife. So anyway.
Oh.
The podcast.
So you were married, but you had a girlfriend. Go on.
I took them both because I liked it. Anyway, this movie was about, it's basically a love story. I mean, it's not something that I would ever typically really go for, but it was the first movie I had ever seen Rob Pattinson in that wasn't Twilight. And I was curious to see if he could act. And that's why it's on my list. I was so surprised by this movie. It was a heartfelt movie. I really like Cooper, who plays the girl's dad, and I just, this movie took me off guard, and I really wanted to kind of pair it next to Winter's Bone because it really went to show me that I should stop judging just based on cast, except where Jared Leto's concerned.
Just real quick,
Jared
did
Leto.
you say that? Did you say that this was the first thing you'd seen Robert Pattinson in that wasn't Twilight?
Or Harry Potter. No, I had to consider it for a second. I do seem to forget Harry Potter sometimes. But anyway, since then, I actually actively look for Rob Pattinson's movies because I enjoy him as an actor. The King was fantastic. I can't wait for this next Christopher Nolan movie. I really want. I'm happy he's getting out of that shadow, and I just hope he keeps doing what he's doing.
Go see The Lighthouse right now.
Oh, I own it.
Yeah, that was so good.
Yep.
No, I'm actually excited to see what he does with Batman.
Yeah.
I am too. The first thing I told Jess was like, he's gonna get crucified for this, just like Affleck did, and I think he will surprise people, like Joaquin Phoenix Joker surprised people.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, hey, Michael Keaton got criticized a long time ago, and he was awesome. So, I mean, we should wait and see.
If they'll just cast Kobe Smulders with him, then we have Batman Sparkles and Robin Sparkles.
Chad, what's your number 8 movie?
How to Train Your Dragon.
That was on my honorable mention.
Chad, why don't you tell us about How to Train Your Dragon?
I love Lilo and Stitch, and the people that designed Stitch also designed Toothless for How to Train Your Dragon. I enjoy Jay Baruchel. He does the voice of Hiccup in this movie. It's charming, it's different, it's not part of the Disney or Pixar groupings, and it's just a lot of fun. A cool setting, cool story with Vikings and dragons, and it's a good time.
It is solid. I'll back you up on that one. It didn't make my list. It just missed my honorable mentions, but it's a good time, and I'll back you up on that one. Andrew, you sound like you'd seen it.
Yes, I actually saw it almost, I think, like right after it came out. I think I might have seen a pirated copy back in the day. And I was kind of surprised because, again, I'm not very much for the animated movies so much. And that was really well done. In fact, it was hard to keep that one out of the top 10. It's just a really good movie. And if it's animated and you get me to talk about it in high praise, then it's probably a really good movie.
Fry, did you do this one?
No, I'll have to cue this one up. Given the fact that everybody liked it, I'm kind of in Andrew's boat, and it'll change very drastically very soon. But I usually don't do animated movies either. I am kind of looking forward to it. You guys have to understand that having a kid now, and I'm gonna have to watch all these movies. I feel like there's gonna be some gems for me. And I'm kind of happy that I haven't watched any of them because I haven't even seen anything past Toy Story 1. So, like, I've heard that they're excellent, and that's awesome. I get to look forward to doing that now. But I think I'll actually have some enhancement joy by the fact that I actually get to watch them, with my daughter.
Yeah. Now, I'm
For
going
the first time, I mean.
I'm going to follow up Chad's animated selection with my number 8 movie, which is Despicable Me.
Oh, that's a good one.
Man, I'm my 3 are unique at this point.
I did actually see that one, though.
Yeah. Despicable Me is just absolutely heartwarming and fun. It does both at the same time, and it plays a balance that I really enjoy well. It has like this Looney Tune-like quality that I really like to see. That's that lightheartedness, and at the same time, it's still got the it still gets you in the heart. So Gru's a great character. He's a villain who's trying to steal the moon, and as a James Bond fan, I like these big huge villains and stuff. And so he's satiring a genre I love so much. And so great voice work by Steve Carell, and the animation work and the way that the characters are stylized, I just really enjoyed. And I love the Minions. So I've enjoyed this whole series. So it makes my number 8 here.
Very good.
You know, I've got to issue a correction here. I saw Minions.
That's okay.
Oh, yeah. Go see Despicable Me. It's much better.
So Chad, you saw Despicable Me?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's one we've shown to Belle already. She enjoyed the Minions a lot, which is a little disappointing. Like as the adult, I'm going, Gru. Gru's awesome. But, little kids like the yellow things that are running around screaming, banana! So, yeah.
I enjoyed Minions, so I'm going to just assume that I'm a small child. Which, again, gives me hope for watching all of these things later.
Number 7, Andrew.
The Losers.
Oh, yeah. I haven't done this one, but I'm very familiar with it, and I'd like to see it.
Dude, I freaking love that movie. It's on my honorable mentions because it's kind of a closet movie, but, dude, I freaking love it.
Tell us about it, Andrew.
It's just one of those great, popcorn action flicks. The cast is good across the board. It's got these one-liners, and Chris Evans just really, I feel like, brings the zingers, and he's just really set up for, in my opinion, just rewatched this morning. He does a lot of great work. Idris Elba, Frye, what's the main guy? I'm forgetting his name. I'm sure you know.
Richard Dean Morgan?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Dean.
There we go. He's good. He just kind of is his, I think of him in an action movie, and Chris Evans just has these just great little spots where he shines in it, and it's just a fun movie. So I'm more about movies that I'm going to, want to watch a second time or a third time, and I think this is probably like the third time I've seen this one. So it stands up.
I haven't seen that one, but I think I just added it to my list. That sounds really intriguing. I like Chris Evans.
Yeah. It's a comic book movie too, so this was kind of an under the radar, when they were doing stuff like 30 Days of Night, when they were doing V for Vendetta. This was another hats off to another graphic novel, and I'm not even sure. You tend to forget how you see certain things, but man, and this is a young Chris Evans too. Like you really get to see where he matured into a Captain America kind of character. But, he's much slimmer. He's definitely got this wit. It's more the Human Torch him than the Captain America him. And you can kind of see how he got one part, and then to see his maturity into the Captain America character is pretty cool too.
Yeah. Now, number 7 for you, Brian.
Oh, number 7 for me is Kick-Ass. Speaking of comic book movies.
Okay.
Freaking love that movie. There's really not a lot I've got to just compound on this, but Nicolas Cage's part in the movie is awesome. Chloe is awesome. It was the kind of start to the main character's career, and the way he's changed as an actor is also pretty much equivalent to how I feel about Chris Evans. And he's super young in this, and if you see Aaron Taylor Johnson in anything recently, I mean, he's freaking built now. You may have seen him in the new Godzilla movie. Or Savages. I mean, he's like a legit dude now, but if you go back and watch this, you're like, oh, wow, really? That's the same guy? And it's just cool that he started with this and then moved on to some other movies that I really liked. So it's nice to get one of those, I'm going to follow your career because I liked it from the beginning kind of guys.
It's a fun movie. It's very violent and it carries that R rating for sure, but at the same time it's a lot of fun. So it's very playful.
Yes.
Yeah, I also enjoyed it, and Hit Girl's awesome in that.
Yes, she is.
Yep.
Frye covered it all, and yeah, I like Nick Cage. I like when he shows up in my movies.
Yeah, just to tie it all together, he also plays Quicksilver in the Marvel Universe.
All right, number 7 for you, Chad.
Shutter Island. I
think you might be the high pick on this one. Do you want to tell us about Shutter Island?
Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio horror mystery thriller movie. I love the setting and the investigation, the mystery behind it, and it always gets a special ranking in my heart when it has horror in the subtitles and my wife enjoys it. It could be because of Leonardo DiCaprio being present, but I'm fine with that. It probably got demoted a little bit on my list just because I saw the ending coming. I was a little disappointed about that, how they wrapped it up. The previews really spoil a lot for you. You can infer it, but it's if you didn't get to it in 2010 or before, if you hit it for the first time, you're missing all that. So you're in for a really good movie.
Yeah, Shutter Island though, I really enjoyed this one. I didn't make my top 10 list, but it was in my honorable mentions, and I'm with Chad. I mean, it's a fun web that it spins, and the setting is very eerie, and it's just a really great time. I mean, Scorsese, DiCaprio, you can't go wrong here. I like a thriller like this, and this is definitely in my wheelhouse. I was surprised it didn't make it, and I think there's some other years where this certainly would have made my top 10.
So this was my number 10 movie because it really deserves a lot of respect. I think that when I think of under the radar, when I think of movies that really should have been talked about more and weren't, this is probably a hallmark of that. I didn't see it coming. I read the thing first, but it was one of those things where when it came to the end of it, like I stopped for a minute and I was like, boom, this just destroyed my, like I spent about a month reading it and I was like, oh snap, did not see that coming. So twists like the end of this movie are one of the probably top 3 things I look for in movies. And probably one of the biggest reasons that Usual Suspects is up there and probably my top 1, 2, 3 favorite movies of all time.
Oh yeah, if you like that movie, this is a good pick for you for sure. It didn't get overlooked that badly. It came on number 17 on the year in the box office, so it a lot of people got out for it.
Sure, but I'm just saying, if you went out and asked people, just go down the street and be like, hey, did you ever see Shutter Island with Leonardo DiCaprio? They'd be like, what? Like, this is
like,
not...
Nope.
This is, yeah, I mean, this is a very quietly popular movie.
Yeah, I think they leaned into the horror aspect in the previews too much, and it's really more of a thriller.
That's
agreed.
I thought it was a horror movie.
Yeah. So that's probably why some people are just like, no, I don't want to see that. But it's far more of a thriller.
And it's DiCaprio in a period piece, which he really, really excels at.
Yeah. All right, my number 7 movie is True Grit.
Hold off on that one, sir.
Okay. And Andrew, what's your number 6 movie?
Grown Ups.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. We warned you about poor judgment.
All right, Andrew, tell us about Grown Ups.
I had no desire to see this movie when it came out. I thought it was going to be awful. And then I was at somebody's house and they put it on. And I don't know, I probably watched this movie in the past 2.5 years, like maybe 6 times, because every time we put it on with a group of people, when we're all just kind of hanging out, there's always parts where we all just laugh our asses off and have a great time. And if a movie can be watched that many times by, a just different changing group of people, and every time it gets a good reaction, I got to put it in the top 10 list. So it holds up for me. It's, it's a fun movie about a bunch of guys getting back together from kind of reliving their glory days of youth. And it's just a fun family movie with a bunch of good actors that are like, hey, let's make a kids movie.
Can you give me less than 60 seconds to do a long-winded diss?
Go ahead, Brian. Just do your thing.
So, in Neil Gaiman's American Gods, the only thing that give gods power are people's belief in them. So, as older gods diminish in their belief structure, they diminish in power. Andrew is one of those people that are keeping Adam Sandler alive. And it's literally, there's like 5 people out there that are doing it, and he is one of them.
I'm somewhere in between on this one. I still appreciate Sandler. I will always have a soft spot in my heart for Sandler, but Grown Ups for me was not a big hit. I did see it, and I thought it was, I was like, okay, these guys definitely all cashed in, took a nice vacation together, and hung out all summer with their friends. And I think as much has been said. And it kind of had that feeling of it doesn't really go anywhere. So I did see it, and I don't necessarily I didn't enjoy this movie as much, but I do still like Sandler. So I'm going to have Andrew's back on Sandler, just maybe not this movie. I did see it. I have it ranked at number 66 on the year so far of the ones I saw.
There's a pertinent meme that I'll post on our site for this. There's a picture of Chris Farley and a picture of Adam Sandler. And on Chris Farley, it says, you either die a hero, and then on Adam Sandler, or live long enough to become the villain. And it is perfect. That sums it all up.
Chad?
I'm speechless.
I think you liked it less than I did, maybe.
Andrew, you do you. I'm glad you're here to represent this.
Hey, it's one of those movies that you put it on and you guys are watch. You guys all have families. You're gonna be in a couple of years. You're gonna be like, oh, I can't count the number of times I've seen Grown Ups because it's a great family movie to put on, and it's actually got good enough stuff going that's funny that you're gonna laugh, and then you're gonna laugh again, and you're gonna be like, oh, Andrew was right.
It's got a lot of funny people in it. Also, Kevin James is in it.
This sounds like Russell's experiment with Talladega Nights. He's like, it's funny, and I didn't laugh once.
See, now you've lost your credibility there, Chad. So
it's not a funny movie, man.
I see myself living more of the This Is 40 life.
Okay.
All right. So number 6. Number 6, Brian.
This is where I've got King's Speech coming in.
You know what? It's my number 6 too. So if you want to talk about it now, you can.
This was a great movie. Colin Firth is one of those people that I sometimes avoid, basically due to Renee Zellweger, and
that's fair.
It's a mistake though when he's not in a Bridget Jones movie. Obviously with Love Actually and Kingsman movies,
yeah.
And this guy's awesome, and he crushes this movie. Helena Bonham Carter was awesome. I mean, this is one of those historical pieces that has relatively little action sequence in terms of time period, and what a great movie. I still I went to see it because it was nominated, and I've been patting myself on the back for it ever since because it was that good.
Yep, it was great. I didn't get to it until way later, but it is a very, very well made movie. It is interesting in terms of, I guess as Americans, we don't focus on the royal family as much, but there's some interesting storylines there that I didn't know as much. And so it was an interesting way to relive that. But I think just the passion of something to overcome a speech impediment that, King George had to go through. That was a very interesting. Jeffrey Rush is so good in this. And the warmth of his character, I mean, on one hand, he's Barbossa from Pirates of the Caribbean. That's where most people would know him from. But, I mean, he's great in this. And as you mentioned, Colin Firth, totally deserving of that Oscar for Best Actor. So really good stuff here. So I'm with you on that one.
Most people don't know Jeffrey Rush from Shine.
I would have gone with Barbossa, too.
I actually saw Shine when it first came out. That's the one where he's the great piano player. Anyway.
Yeah. So, Chad, what's your number 6?
My number 6 is True Grit.
All right. I had this one as well, but I think we're the only two. Do you want to talk about it now?
Wow, I really thought this was a Brian way up there.
It's an honorable mention for me. It drug a little bit.
Oh.
Really?
I do think it's one of the better westerns out there, but yeah,
it's no Grown Ups.
Look, I respect it. It's good. I don't know. It just wasn't a top 10 for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I have not seen the original, so this was new to me. But Jeff Bridges, I enjoy everything he's in. Matt Damon for my wife. We watched this together, so Matt Damon's like her main guy. So she was very happy about that. But you know what? Haley Steinfeld, who played Maddie Ross, she really blew me away. She was great, and for me, Westerns do tend to be more dialogue heavy, but I didn't feel like it drug at all. I was really drawn in, and the Coen brothers just did a wonderful job of drawing me into, conversations that there's really not much happening as they're just going across the plains, but I was engaged and I love the story. It's one I'd actually like to revisit here very shortly.
True Grit was a very good movie, and I also have not seen the original, so I'm probably a little, I don't know, I might take that with a grain of salt, but I mean, this was very entertaining. I like the characters. I like their play between the three of them. The story moves well. I think that its landscapes that it moves through are really enjoyable. I think the resolution at the end of the movie is the only thing that maybe keeps us from going up a little bit higher for me, because I did really enjoy this movie, and I'm not a big Western guy, so this is genre defying for me. I did like this one, and that's why I have it at number 7.
Good, quite good.
Yep, I had King's Speech at 6. We talked about it, so Andrew, back to you for 5.
Due Date.
Okay.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Andrew on the streak of what is it, 4 now that we haven't gotten to?
He's having himself a double down, but go ahead.
Robert Downey Jr.
And Russell with a second dad joke.
And Zach Galifianakis. It's a fun road trip comedy. And obviously with Zach Galifianakis, a bunch of idiocy and hilarity ensues. And it's two people who are very good at acting carrying a movie, and they do a great job. I've watched it, I don't know, probably 5-6 times. And again, every single time that it's on, and I'm in a room of people and it's on, I just, I keep paying attention to it, or, people are like, oh, what's this? And people start laughing. It's a rewatchable movie. And that's kind of my issue with a lot of the serious good movies from this year. They just weren't that rewatchable. And so my list is dominated by movies that I'd be willing to watch by more than once.
Well, I might not share the same enthusiasm for it, but I did see it.
That movie did happen.
I did see it. It's a little bit mean-spirited. I definitely is cut from the same cloth of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with Steve Martin and John Candy. And, if you enjoy this movie, I really urge you to go see that movie and instead.
Fair enough. I feel like I'm not getting a lot of love for Due Date.
I think that if I were going to try to qualify why I didn't like Due Date, I'm pretty much an idiot in real life, so I like a little bit more intellect in my comedies. So, maybe you're just that smart that you need a little bit of idiot in what you're watching.
I guess that's the case.
That's an interesting theory. My wife watches the Kardashians, so she's brilliant.
Mine too.
Chad,
Yeah,
there you go.
Your wife's a doctor, so yeah, maybe that's the thing.
Chad, did you do this one?
I did not, no.
Okay.
I like Robert Downey Jr., but I actually didn't enjoy Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. You can throw whatever you want at me.
I
right
will
now,
be
but
throwing things at you.
That's fine.
That is a good movie. All right. But anyway, that's why we have lots of different perspectives on the show. So, Brian, what is your number 5 movie?
Hats off if anybody else has this, but I doubt it, is A-Team.
Okay.
I don't know about this one. Go one. Sell me on it.
I freaking love it. I actually love them in very similar fashions, but this is Bradley Cooper really cementing why Bradley Cooper is awesome. You got Liam Neeson as the head. The acting in this movie was good. The jokes were so funny. I died in this movie. So this is one of the best action comedies. If I had to make a list of action comedies, this would still be on my top 10. I enjoyed this movie so much, and it is the epitome of rewatchable for me. I could do this anytime.
Wow. I do not mean to be a Debbie Downer, but you found a movie that I have ranked lower than Grown Ups on this list. So
Yes.
Oh.
yeah,
Oh,
I haven't ranked it.
wow.
I haven't ranked it number 73 on of the movies I've seen that year.
I've seen it,
Wow.
and I remember being very excited when it came out. I remember watching it, and I haven't really ever been excited to watch it again. So I might give it a rewatch because, we like a lot of those same action comedies, but yeah, you're swimming in solo waters there.
Yeah.
I just didn't think it was fun. I just didn't think it was fun enough. I didn't really feel like. I mean, I don't have a lot of connection to the source material, so I think that would help.
I didn't
It
either.
doesn't.
I think I may have watched one episode of the A-Team at some point in time.
Oh my, you guys are killing me.
I've loved the A-Team growing up, so yeah, it does not help.
It earmarked a couple things that I recognize. Maybe there's some more in there that I've missed, but I don't know, man. It just, that one got me.
Those little kid punching bags that they had that you fill them up with air and then
Yeah.
they rock back and forth as you punch them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ours was the A-Team growing up. So I actually that was something I watched like all the episodes of my family, totally knew that show. And I saw that movie once and I don't remember ever wanting to watch it again. So I'll have to give it another try.
Yeah, I don't know. It's to me that's a 1 star for me, but
Well, Mr. T agrees with Brian. Mr. T said it was the greatest thing in the world after he'd watched it. So Mr. T pities the fool who doesn't like the A-Team.
I'm a fool. All right, so
Did you see what Mr. T's rating of grown-ups is?
I will give him a call after the show.
they're close. They're close. Chad, what's your number 5 movie?
Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Wow, I know you love this movie. I'm actually surprised it's not higher for you.
I need to watch this.
Well,
Painkillers came out before and I still haven't.
Yeah, it's a tough crowd ahead of it. I really do love this. This is a movie that I can show to just about anyone and they have a great time. It's a wonderful parody of a horror movie. Alan Tudyk is this redneck named Tucker and Tyler Labine is his dopey kind of naive friend Dale. They go out and they buy a cabin in the woods and they're trying to fix it up, and these teenagers come in and there's a terrible mistake and there's just a lot of mayhem that ensues, and it's very, very funny. The one thing I will strike against it is the douchey group leader. His name is Chad, and that hurts me a little.
It's a very funny movie. Chad introduced me to it, not the douchey group leader, but my co-host here, Chad, introduced me to it. I never had really any intentions of getting to it, but the marketing didn't grab me, but it exceeded expectations and then some. It's violently hilarious. There's some over-the-top violence, so if you're opposed to that, then it might not be for you, but it's a very fun time. Two very lovable idiots, and I absolutely enjoyed it. And I have it at 13 on the year, so it's in my honorable mentions list. So,
Wow, I'm glad it made it that high.
yeah.
I have every intention of making it through this movie. I've started it several times and not finished it. And it's not really due to anything. I just wasn't there yet.
Oh man, it's one of those movies I can pop in anytime.
Well, the next time you want to watch A-Team, watch this instead.
Just an FYI, Google Reviews gives it the exact same rating as A-Team. So,
Okay.
for what it's worth.
Ouch.
My number 5 movie is The Other Guys.
Okay.
Honorable mention for me.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell and Michael Keaton. Got to mention him being in this one. I love him in this. It is I'm a huge Will Ferrell fan, and this was one that I've seen several times. I'm not a big rewatcher of movies multiple times over, but it just seems to happen to be on TV. I do own this one, and it's one of those ones that I have thoroughly enjoyed time and time again. Rewatch value is high. There are a number of scenes that make me laugh very hard, and I even get a smile on my face just talking about it now. So, hand me a wooden gun. I love this movie.
I think that my favorite part of this movie, and I'm not going to drop a spoiler here, is Keaton and TLC. That's all I'll say.
Don't go chasing waterfalls, Brian.
Don't. Because I don't want no scrubs.
I mean, Will Ferrell is such a good nerd, though, in this, and Mark Wahlberg is such an over-the-top cardboard version of what so many of these cop movies have, so it's really fun to see them interchange with each other. Ferrell's just doing really good work in this movie, so...
I think it was just outside of my honorable mentions. I think that Will Ferrell is just not like, don't get me wrong, he's got some excellent work, okay? But he's just not quite as high for me as I think he might be for some other people on this podcast. So.
Oh yeah, I'm a huge Will Ferrell fan, so yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah, he's very hit and miss for me. So I'm kind of in between Russell and Chad on this.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Russ, do you answer the phone, Buddy the Elf? What's your favorite color?
No, but maybe I should.
What a disappointing movie that was. Everyone praises it so much.
Wow. Chad, so the other day I was having a conversation about what the proper term for a male version of Karen is, and one of the nominations was Chad. Based on that tone of voice you just used, like, I think that you just increased the likelihood that we use Chad as the male version of Karen.
It already was a name of ill repute, but it's more like the frat jerk than asked to see the manager.
Chad got told to go to the corner and sit down.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry. Everyone that likes Elf and says it's the best Christmas movie, you're wrong.
Okay. Now, let's kick it in the top half here. Andrew, what's your number 4 movie?
My number 4 movie is Iron Man 2.
Oh, jeez.
Help me out, man. Help me out.
Going off the rails on a crazy train.
We have to ask this question. Are you trolling us right now?
No, because we obviously know that one of my movies that you guys all still have rated highly, I have rated really high. It's that I didn't think that 2010 was overall a fantastic year for movies. And I think at the time that basically every single Marvel movie, except for the second Thor, which I think I've trashed enough previously. If you remember when we did the Marvel movies, I said that I pretty much thought that every Marvel movie was basically in the top 2 to 3 movies of the year every year. So even the lowest things on my list, outside of the one that was the lowest, I had really, really high every year. I'm pretty sure I said that on the Marvel movie podcast. So you guys can't really be surprised that I have Iron Man 2, something that I've rewatched this year alone 4 times, that high. I think that's pretty reasonable.
Well, it's reasonable if you've seen it that many times and you like it that much that it would be this high for you. So I'm not sure it's reasonable to see it that many times this year, but go.
Yeah.
It's compared to the rest of the Marvel movies, it was at the bottom of my list, if you will remember, and you can go look up. But compared to the other movies that came out this year, it's fun. It's fun watching Robert Downey Jr. get into a drunk fight with War Machine. Come on. When those two have a drunk fight in Iron Man 2, you tell me you guys don't enjoy that scene.
It'd be better if they were both drunk.
For me, this is, I think, I don't want to spoil everything from the Marvel Countdown podcast, but they'd get to this pretty quickly. For me, this is my lowest Marvel movie.
Wait, this is worse than Iron Man 3?
Yeah, for sure. 2 is definitely
Yeah, I don't
below
agree with
3.
that opinion.
Wow.
3 is the worst.
I don't know. I made a statement at one point that I would see anything with Sam Rockwell in it, so there's merit to Andrew's argument.
I mean, look, if you sit there and you rewatch and you're like, oh, I'm going to watch some Marvel movies, and you watch Iron Man 1, it's really easy to watch Iron Man 2.
Maybe.
You know what I'm saying? And then if you then think about that and you do that frequently, you have a lot of times where you end up rewatching it and it holds up as a rewatchable movie. Is it as good as the Marvel movies in front of it? No. But, I don't think 2010 was the greatest year for movies.
Okay. Now, Brian, number 4.
My number 4 is Scott Pilgrim.
Hold off on that one, sir.
Okay, we covered this one earlier this year too, so that's another fun plug for the podcast on that one. So, Chad, what's your number 4?
I think this is going to be a hold off, but I've got Inception.
Hold off on that.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Yep.
My number 4 is The Fighter.
That was in my honorable mentions.
Yeah, it's based on a story of a boxer who tries to escape, the shadow of his famous but troubled older boxing brother, and it's just really well acted. I didn't think I'd get into this one as much as I did, but I mean, Christian Bale is so good in this one. This is Mark Wahlberg's best movie in my opinion. That's a wide range of things. I mean, it can be as bad as The Happening. It can be as good as this. But this is a movie that I actually wanted to win Best Picture that year at the time. And so I was a little bit mad at The King's Speech back when it won, but I've gotten over it. They're both great movies. I just have The Fighter a little bit higher. And Amy Adams in this, fantastic in this as well. I got to mention her as well. So great cast.
I watched this, and I think I'm 100% with you that I was actually annoyed that this didn't win over The King's Speech at the time. But my issue with the way I think about movies a decade later is, if I only saw it once, it needed to stick with me so much that I didn't need to see it again. Like, I think I've only seen Schindler's List once. I'm okay with that. I don't need to see it again. I remember that movie really well, even though that was 1994. Like, The Fighter, it hasn't made me want to watch it again, and it hasn't stuck with me that way. But at the time, I got to agree with you, Russ. I definitely had it probably as number, when I first watched it, I probably had it number 4 or 5 on this list. So
yeah.
It's a lot of I don't mean to knock it. It's just not a movie that I think most people are like, oh, what we should do on a Friday night? Let's rewatch The Fighter.
I don't know. I've enjoyed going back to this one. And like I said, Bale is just so great in this one. He absolutely transforms his body. You just forget you're even watching Christian Bale in this one. It's amazing. He totally deserved his Oscar in this one. So
I'm trying in my head to draw parallels on, we had spoken before in the podcast about how I didn't think there was a bad hockey movie. Well, I don't really watch hockey. I don't watch boxing either, and I have a harder time watching boxing movies and enjoying them. Cinderella Man was probably one of my favorites, but even that one I've only watched maybe 2 times. So I don't know if that's why I just steer clear. I can tell you right now that $1 Million Baby didn't do boxing any favors because I wanted to shoot myself at the end of that movie. So I don't watch fighting. I don't care to watch fighting, and it makes it difficult for me to really dive into a fighting movie.
Oh.
If you need to watch a good boxing movie, you want to watch Gladiator from 1992. Trust me on this. To give it the first 20 minutes, and if you're not okay, I'm into this, I'd be shocked for all 3 of you.
I had several that were a failure to launch. I tried to watch Southpaw and got 20, 30 minutes into it and stopped.
Rocky?
Tried to watch Warrior. I've seen several of the Rocky movies, but again, it's been years. It's not something I'm I need to watch some Rocky right now.
Check out Gladiator. It's much better.
I would recommend Raging Bull. I think that's...
dude, I watched that for a film class in college, and I was like, well, that's the only time I ever need to see that.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have a harder time with it. Like I said, I watched Warrior, and it was fine, but I don't know. It's just not something that speaks to me.
Okay, back to 2010 though. Andrew, what's your number 3?
She's Out of My League.
Okay, Jay Bruce.
A Pittsburgh movie.
It is a Pittsburgh movie. It's a movie that I had not seen until a couple of years ago. Just think that it's really well done. Of a movie of a particular type, where it's the romantic comedy of, we have this beautiful woman who's got all of these amazing attributes, and then there's the dorky nice guy, and they make fun of that, but yet do just an excellent job of doing the movie that it holds up. And it's almost more of a romantic than the romantic comedy side in the terms of actually really making sure it has, some good plot, and that they're not just mailing in certain scenes to call it a romantic on the romantic comedy. And I know very few people that have sat down and watched it that dislike it.
Yeah, it was a fun movie. It had some weird things. If we live in Pittsburgh, and the weird scene at the Warhol Museum where there's cocktail hour, that was very strange, and they made their airport look really ghetto. But yeah, it was a fun movie.
My takeaway
Yeah.
from that movie, if I'm remembering correctly, Alice Eve, it was one of those like, man, Alice Eve looks like so many people.
Elijah Cuthbert. Yeah.
Well, that was generous.
I mean, she also looks like young Kidman. There's a little bit of I'm gonna blank on her name now. Wolf of Wall Street. Margot Robbie. Like
That's generous.
There are times where I see her and I'm just like, wait, stop. No. Okay. Wait. Like, she has aspects to her look that people are, like, confused.
No, it's a fun one, and honestly, this is a rom-com that I believe was actually geared more for the male audiences. It's told from a male perspective, and I think that it is a very sweet movie that puts it into that rom-com genre. But we don't have any ladies on this podcast today, which is regretful, and I'm sorry to say, but I want to say that this is a rom-com made for male audiences, and I think that's probably why it went down for us better here as we talk about it. But it'd be interesting to hear how that went down from a female perspective.
Sure. My number 3 is Black Swan.
Wow, okay. You're the high one on this one, I think. You want to talk about it?
I viewed this as... I'm usually a poo-pooer on Aronofsky's work.
You are? I'm surprised.
I don't want to make this comparison stick because I'm just using it because they have one similar thing, but it's like M. Night Shyamalan. Like, they either really wow me or I'm like, wow, that was terrible. Where it differs is I agree that Aronofsky's work is singular. I mean, they're all pretty much good movies, but most of the time I would never touch them again. I've probably talked about several of them negatively over time. This was one of the best psychological thrillers I've ever seen. And I was happy I took the leap to see it. I bought it. And I felt like I got to join the club a little bit with this movie because I'm like, no, I like this one. Look, no, there's one I like. Here, this one. It's not dissing his other work. Requiem was a great movie, and I cursed the day I watched it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I have to live with that in my head the rest of my life, and honestly, F him for it.
For me, Black Swan, this is where I don't do myself any favors, but I kind of had it in the slightly overrated category. It's a good movie, and what it has going for it is style, presentation, and atmosphere. It's really good across the board and all of that, so praising a lot of the direction. The story itself and the journey that it takes you on, I'm not sure was very fulfilling for me, and so that's why I didn't have it joining here. And I also I was a little bit bitter at the as well when if I had to go back and look at it, I would again give Jennifer Lawrence the Oscar for this year.
Oh man,
I don't disagree with that.
So I had Black Swan 10, and I have to say that, I went in with basically the knowledge of, one premise of the movie. I was really impressed at the psychological thriller aspect of a movie about a bunch of ballerinas. Like, it was good. It was better than I expected. And I was not at a particular point, it kind of lulled, and I was like, okay, I was kind of expecting that. But I guess I'm just going to stick with it. And by the end of it, I was really impressed with it as a piece of art. I've only seen it the one time because I watched it for this. It was worth watching. So if you were a listener and you haven't seen it, I highly recommend watching Black Swan.
Yeah. Now, Chad, did you have this one on your list? You're as big of a Natalie Portman as they come.
Yeah, it made my number 9. I'd actually just watched it this week. The only reason it's not higher is I'd watched a movie that was made prior to Black Swan. It's a Japanese movie called Perfect Blue. And this is very, very similar to Perfect Blue. Perfect Blue was animated. This was real-life actors, so there were beautiful costume designs. But I'm like, I've seen this before. So the familiarity kind of bumped it down, but everything that Brian said, it sucks you in. It does a good job. I don't like Requiem, but I do like The Wrestler.
Lion King's just a bad retelling of Hamlet. Didn't stop you guys from liking it, right?
I still enjoyed it. It still made my top 10. It's just it's lower because Perfect Blue did it, I actually think, better. I think Perfect Blue was 5 stars, and this is 4.5.
Well, I guess all I'm saying is, I mean, I enjoyed Mother, The Fountain, Pi. The Wrestler was good, but he also made Noah. Okay?
Did he really?
He did, yeah.
But he made Noah. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where, you know, maybe I'm not weighing the coin appropriately. Like, I think it really boils down to Requiem and the fact that I can't unwatch it.
Some things you can't unsee, bro.
Number 3, Chad.
Korean film, I Saw the Devil.
Oh, yeah. This is a super violent movie, right?
Yes, it is. It is almost like the Korean version of Taken, except it's far more revenge-driven, and it's just fascinating. It's this very skilled individual that is hunting down a criminal, and he just spends over an hour and a half hunting him and tormenting him and playing with this guy who's committed a crime against his family. And it's a fascinating movie. I highly recommend, even with subtitles, you know, if that's a barrier, you'll be really entertained by I Saw the Devil.
Okay. So my number 3, and in full disclosure, this is totally in my wheelhouse. I'm a comedy fan first and foremost. I love comedies. Now I have Hot Tub Time Machine.
Nope.
Hold up.
We're going to wait. Okay.
Wow.
Wow, I thought I was overrating him. Okay, great. Well, wonderful. Andrew, what's your number 2?
Get Him to the Greek.
Okay, yeah. Tell us about Get Him to the Greek.
So Get Him to the Greek is meant to be a sequel to Forgetting Sarah Marshall. It reprises Russell Brand as Aldous Snow. And if for one reason and one reason only why Get Him to the Greek stands up across the test of time is Stroke the Furry Walls. It is a fun movie about a rock star dealing with his personal demons while going out to do a performance, and it's got a lot of hilarity. I remember when I watched it with a group of people that it was just one of those things that we were all just like, okay, that's a movie we're going to watch again. That was fun. That was good. And Russell Brand, he had this small bit part in one movie, and he turned it in. He did so well that they made another movie.
I wouldn't want to be Jonah Hill being responsible to watch after him.
I had a hard time leaving this off my top 10. I made a conscious decision to choose either that or Hot Tub Time Machine to put on here just for some parody's sake. But literally the name of my fantasy football league that I run is Furry Walls. This movie is hilarious. If you've not seen this movie, I think it flew wildly under the radar, especially when I talked to people about it today. This movie is so funny. And if you haven't seen it, you got to.
I guess I have got to see this movie. I didn't know it was a sequel or even pseudo-sequel to Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I actually really did enjoy that.
It's Russell Brand's character is the only carryover. And a couple commercials.
That's a bit concerning because I'm not a Russell Brand fan, but
you might be after this.
I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, this is the perfect vehicle for Russell Brand, I think. I myself have this kind of in the middle for me. Like, I enjoyed it, but I also haven't found myself wanting to return to it, and it's not been the showstopper for me. But, I did enjoy it at the time, and I kind of have it, with middling rankings.
Puff Daddy in it is one of my favorite. I don't even think you can call it a cameo given how much he's in it, but it's...
Oh, it's not. No.
Who do you mean? Do you mean P. Diddy?
Sean Combs. Sean Combs' character in this movie is excellent.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's just Diddy now. I messed that up. Yeah, he's Diddy.
He's billed as Sean Combs. Sean Combs' character in this movie is very funny.
Can we say how impressive it is that you can say so many different names and we all know that you're talking about the same person? Like, kudos to him for having that many names that we all know to be the same guy.
But Prince can make up a symbol, and we know that.
I'll go with... all right, if I have to go cameo, I'll go with Lars Ulrich's cameo.
Number 2, Chad. Fry, number 2.
This is where I've got Hot Tub Time Machine.
Nope.
Excellent.
I like it.
Excellent. No, I'm joyous.
Chad, number 2.
Tangled. Tangled is a Disney animated feature. It's about Rapunzel. None of this is probably sounding appealing to the all-male podcast members I've got on, but this is one I actually fought for to get my wife to see. BB Newworth, who plays Lilith in Cheers and Frasier, she is the evil stepmother in this. There's a great sidekick character in the chameleon Pascal. Even Flynn Rider, I think that's a character Fry would like a lot. He's sort of a Han Solo type character. Still not watching the movie, Andrew. But it's got great music. Manny Moore is the voice. At Last I Saw the Light is one of the great songs. And as Belle says, it's not scary. So my daughter likes this. There's not that 90s Disney, somebody's gotta die a horrible death. Or someone turns into a giant dragon. So it's great for little kids, but it's also a movie that I really enjoy.
I overlooked it at the time, but with your high ranking, I'm going to have to give it a second watch.
I've seen it. I remember it being, for again, somebody who's not super high on the animated movies. I remember Tangled being, pretty good. Like, not something that I want to rewatch again. But if you're into that kind of movie, I think that it's probably a very good direction to go.
I try to think about parents' feelings when I think about all those parents that didn't have Disney Plus.
So my number 2 is going to be Inception.
Hold up.
And Andrew, what is your number 1 movie? I think you kind of showed your hand a little bit ago, but tell us your number 1 movie.
Hot Tub Time Machine.
Yeah, buddy.
I love this movie. I can't wait to hear you talk about it.
Okay, so when this movie first came out, I'll be honest, I was more excited about the cast than the premise. I kind of thought it was going to be one of those where you got a pretty good cast, and it's probably just going to be stupid, and that's okay. I like a lot of movies like that. And I think that this movie really did something a little deeper than that. And it shines. It's not just fun on a rewatch. It shines on a rewatch. Whether or not it's the Winter Soldier being the bad guy.
Yeah, I actively get excited to rewatch this movie. Like, it's one of those things I have to keep myself from overwatching. So, like when I first saw Superbad, I laughed so hard that my stomach hurt at the end of the movie. I was actually begging the credits to end because the credits were funny. And I went back and rewatched Superbad, and it had lost a lot of guster. And this movie, I really have to pace myself to not overwatch this because I still enjoy it that much.
Yeah, this is a comedy I'm on board for. I could not take it out of my top 10. It is my number 10, but it's quotable. The cast is great. I love Craig Robinson. Anything he shows up in, I'm just happy.
The Cusack parallels from his work in the 80s. It's deliciously awesome.
And Crispin Glover.
That's what I was going to say. Crispin Glover, he deserve just such a special. That's like his favorite character that he's played, basically. Like, that's the one thing that he's played that he's like, yeah, anytime they want to do that up again, I'm down.
Huh.
I'm a huge Cusack fan. I'm a huge fan of comedies. I love skiing, and just so many things. My Venn diagram come together here. This is the perfect vehicle for Rob Corddry. He's really good in this, and not just as being a funny jerk, but to Andrew's point, there's actually well-constructed characters. It's a well-written movie, and for such a preposterous, over-the-top premise, they really work. They work it, and they're playful with it. And just really good chemistry between Cusack, Craig Robinson, Rob Corddry, and Clark Duke.
And you get some Chevy Chase in there too. That was.
I love Chevy. Yeah,
that was such a good little accent to make a good movie even better.
Absolutely. They have wonderful references. A good comedy, I think, writes at smaller, fine-tuned levels. And there's stuff that's happening in the background of this movie. There's small things that you catch upon rewatch, and that's why it's such a strong movie at rewatch. Most comedies don't achieve this level, in my opinion. And I mean, it's crude, it's over the top, and that's going to rub a few people the wrong way, but I love it. It's irreverent, and it's just so funny. And I watch this one probably once every winter, particularly around Christmas. It's not a Christmas movie, but just the fact that it has snow in it and starting to be cold outside. So often Mary and I will pop it in while we're wrapping presents, and it's just a big hit at our house.
Totally agree.
So, it's like, it's cold outside. Put it in Hot Tub Time Machine. All right, Brian, what is your number one movie?
This is where I've got Inception. This was one of the chain of Christopher Nolan take my money movies. I would say that if you take Batman out of it and some of his earlier work, this is really the founding piece that is making me look forward to his next movie so much. It was a cool premise. I even like the stuff making fun of it, because it's not even that it was unwarranted, but the stuff making fun of it's funny. So I've gotten so much joy out of every angle of this, the lighthearted jabbing at it, but also the fact the movie was excellent.
Yeah, but that darn horn from the trailer is now in every single movie trailer. Wow.
Could be a goat, man.
Inception is my number 2 movie. I absolutely love this. This is a visual feast. This is a mind bender. I love mind benders. It's very well written. It demands a second viewing. This is probably the best movie for keeping me in the dark for as long as possible, because I was pretty far into this movie before I got my feet under myself. And normally a movie where I don't get my feet under myself that late, I'm normally normally it's not very well written, to be honest with you. And this is just rewarding in all the right ways. It's disorienting in all the most pleasing ways, and it's very, very creative, and I'd like to see more stuff like this, man.
We got to talk about the cast real quick too.
Yeah.
This cast, I don't know who the casting person was for this. I'm sure that's easy to look up. But oh my God, you can't get out of the top 8 or 9 without being like, yes, yeah, oh, yep, okay. If you haven't seen this movie and you read through the cast and you're like, oh, I'm a pass, there's something wrong with you. Because this cast was phenomenal.
I was sold. It's like Leonardo DiCaprio and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yep.
Ellen Page, Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy, Marion Cotillard, Ken Watanabe, Michael Caine. Like, this cast was insane. And I actually think that this could be wrong, but wasn't this one of the big stepping stones to relaunching Gordon-Levitt's career?
No, that was G.I. Joe.
I think it's this.
I mean, he was in, 10 Things I Hate About You. He was in Dark Knight Rises, but that was after this. 500 Days of Summer, yeah. I mean, this was really a big thing for him, for him re-blowing up. So, yeah, man, hats off to him.
I mean, Christopher Nolan is the master at telling a story in the most unconventional, not straightforward manner ever, and it's so rewarding. Chad, you haven't talked about this one as much, have you?
Yeah, we were talking about the cast, but this was one... I like movies where you have to pay attention, and they kind of have a Chekhov's gun, but you really need to pay attention. He does twists and turns, and there were a lot of people saying, oh, the ending was ambiguous, and it absolutely wasn't. But even just the world building, you see a little bit of this later on with Doctor Strange, of the cities kind of folding in on each other, but Inception was the one that just mastered that, and I still can't get past the cast. Frye's right. This is just, everyone nails their part, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, thrilling movie. Chad, what's your number one movie of 2010?
We covered this in the podcast earlier this year. Russell's going to disagree with me, but Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
I'm on board.
I do disagree with you, but yeah, it's okay. But
this is my number 4.
Yeah, tell us one more time in the abbreviated version.
Check out the podcast if you want me to gush over it. This is actually in my top 10 movies of all time. It's a cult movie. It's going to check certain people's boxes. I grew up on these video game references. He's a bass player. There's a lot of like Streets of Rage, Street Fighter, Legends of Zelda references all over it. I enjoyed the graphic novels. Scott Pilgrim is just, it's a movie I watch several times a year, and it makes me happy every single time. It's in such a strange place because I don't particularly like Michael Cera, but it's another one where you look through and the cast is great. Fry talked about young Chris Evans. Well, he's in this one too, and he has a very memorable role. It does drag a little bit with the evil X's. I do feel like there's some good editing that could have been done, but you know what? The villains are very memorable for the most part. You get
great soundtrack.
Yeah, absolutely great soundtrack and special effects.
That's the biggest talking point for me. I love movies that really kill it with the soundtrack. I own a Sex Bomb T-shirt, so it's just one of those things that when I first saw it, I was pleasantly surprised. It was not something that I went into thinking this is going to be awesome. I thought it had, it had character, but I ended up over enjoying it given the amount of level that I wasn't expecting it to be. So anyway. Yeah, and, now I'm in love with Mary Elizabeth Winstead. And
yeah, she's great in just about everything, and she's kind of a chameleon.
Agreed. Loved her in the Thing remake.
Chad, were you having a particularly angsty 2010? Because you've got Tucker and Dale versus Evil and Scott Pilgrim versus the World. And I feel like that maybe that's just telling us something about where your mindset is at this point in time. You're feeling like everything's against you or something like that. If you talk about your feelings a little bit.
Yeah, if you put verses in the title, Andrew's onto something. I may like the movie. So,
Alien versus Predator.
The first one, yes.
Andrew, did you see Scott Pilgrim?
I don't think I've seen this movie.
I'm lukewarm on it, to be honest with you. It's somewhere in the middle. It's very unique. There's nothing like it, and I think it's got a great soundtrack. It's stylistically schizophrenic. It changes its approach frequently, and if you're not in the reference zone, as Chad was talking about, this movie's going to leave you cold. My foot's halfway through that door, so I can appreciate parts of it, but other parts of it I'm not as into as Brian and Chad, but don't let that stop you from going back and revisiting that episode. It was still a fun episode.
Yeah, I actually think that I would understand someone watching this movie and hating it.
Mm-hmm.
There's some leaps you have to take with it. Stylistically, it is an outlier on, I think, some people's comfort zones, and if you're not all that nerdy, I can see you being like, this is trash. So I can understand some distaste for it or outright loathing of it, from a certain avenue, but man, it just, I really got into it. I thought it was very unique.
Brandon Routh, superpowered vegan. Just great little things like that.
All right, and I don't think anybody mentioned this one in their top 10. My number 1 is going to be Toy Story 3.
I had 2 animated features. That didn't make it for me.
I think the Oscars nailed this right for the best animated feature, but this is one that had a profound, like when I say a movie's touching, this movie's touching at another level. It really taps back into your childhood and your own toys and, that rite of passage as you grow up. And there is it's bittersweet. And this is a really, really fun adventure for all the Toy Story characters that we know. Very few series or franchises have this much gas left into them by the third feature, especially something that's maybe a family feature or directed at children. Cars 3, they're out of gas. But for Toy Story 3, this is as good as the first one, and it's more touching, in fact. So I'm not gonna lie, this one's a tearjerker. It's a really great movie, and the characters that you've grown to love continue to grow, and that's just really impressive for me. So it's top notch, and it's very funny too. It's got a lot of fun pop culture references that are gonna hit through at different levels. So kids are gonna enjoy it, but adults, I think, are gonna actually enjoy this one more.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me. I have an issue with Pixar, and it actually starts with this movie. Pixar just almost like they decided to stop having fun and start just seeing how many times they can make you cry during a movie. They do this again with Up and Inside Out, and I'm more of a Ratatouille or a Wall-E guy. I like that. I like the first Toy Story. This one is oppressively sad, and throughout the entire movie, it was well done, but I don't like how it makes me feel. I want Remy the rat cooking food. I like Toothless the dragon just helping out Hiccup. Things like that. Up, at least they make you cry in the first 10 minutes and then you're done. The rest of it is just happy. This one, I can't handle about 3 or 4 separate scenes and I refuse to watch it again.
Wow. To me, they're happy tears, but like they're not sad. I wouldn't quite call it sad, but definitely sentimental. Did Brian or Andrew, either of you guys do this one?
I haven't seen Toy Story.
I've seen Toy Story 3, but Russ, the only thing I've got to say is my number 1 was in everybody's list. Frye's number 1 was in everybody's list. And Chad's was at least in somebody else's. And then you come out with Toy Story 3. Are we sure Disney didn't try to do something here to make sure that ended up on the list? Seems a little suspicious.
It's not even the best Disney movie of the year. Go see Tangled.
Yeah, did you get payoff by Disney on this one, Russ?
I did not.
We will accept bribes, though.
Oh yeah. So just so you all know, if you all want to post any of us personally, we will we'll throw the game for you.
But before we head out, let's just do a quick recap of honorable mentions. No description, just what are some other fun honorable mentions for you, Andrew?
All my honorable mentions actually got listed. Social Network, How to Train Your Dragon. I think there was another one they had on there. So I'm done. You guys are talking about all my honorable mentions.
Okay. Brian, what are your honorable mentions?
The American, Insidious, Devil, and Easy A.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure Chad likes some of those.
M. Night Shyamalan's Devil and Finland's Troll Hunter. Or Norway, sorry.
Devil was a comeback movie for Shyamalan for me. I was very skeptical of watching it. I definitely waited for it to come out and watched it for free, I think on a streaming service. And I was like, wow, that's what I'm talking about. Like, he's got it. He is capable of making that movie, but sometimes he chooses not to.
I have a list of honorable mentions as well. I've got The American, guilty pleasure, not gonna lie, but I do enjoy it. Clash of the Titans, Death at a Funeral, Shutter Island, Tucker and Dale versus Evil, Let Me In, and Alice in Wonderland.
I will say real quick, I do have 2 guilty pleasures. I put these apart from honorable mentions because they truly are guilty pleasures, and my 2 on that is Tron Legacy and Robin Hood, the Ridley Scott one.
Okay. Yeah. Those are that is not a popular pick with Robin Hood. I think, Tron has its cult following. So, Chad, you want to help me pick a movie for next time?
Absolutely.
All right. Option 1, we're going to go with some retro sci-fi here, some classic sci-fi. From 1951, The Day the Earth Stood Still. An alien lands and tells people of Earth that they must live peacefully or be destroyed as a danger to other planets. Option 2, from 1956, The Forbidden Planet. A starship crew goes to investigate the silence of a planet's colony, only to find 2 survivors and a deadly secret that one of them has. And option 3, from 1951, When Worlds Collide. A new star and planet hurtle towards a doomed Earth. A small group of survivalists frantically work to complete the rocket which will take them to their new home.
All right, well, we should check out all of those, but I'm going to go with Forbidden Planet.
All right, Forbidden Planet it is. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us on this.
Thanks for having me. This has been a blast as usual. Can't wait to come back again.
All right, and remember, all the Lord's Days and Nights, the Retro Movie Roundtable, we invite you to look out or to reach out to us. We want to hear from you, so subscribe, rate, and review to us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Those subscriptions help us, and they help others find the show. So give us a like on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at @movie_retro, email us at retromovieroundtable@yahoo.com, and check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Retro Movie Roundtable. As always, thank you for listening. Be good to each other and watch more movies. Brian?
You're going to lose that arm. I don't care if you put that arm in a steel fucking vault. That arm's coming off.